Wow. Okay, we're live with the second week of the Season Guy podcasts. How's everyone doing today?
Doing
Um,
well.
Excellent. We got a special guest on this episode. We have Travis from Mammothor, and it's going to be an exciting discussion today because we are playing with Mammothor on July 27th at Taffeta, and we'll get into that in our conversation. But wanted to have you on today's podcast, catch up, see what you're up to, see how the band's doing, learn a little bit more about you guys, and just talk through some fun topics and have a really good session today.
Sounds great.
Cool. So, Brendan, you want to sort of kick us off with some of these questions that you have nicely prepared for us?
Well, I only had a couple of questions, but
Okay.
well, as a joke question, I wanted to ask, how do you make the perfect music video?
Oh yeah. Well, is that a joke question? Because I've been trying to figure that one out for real.
Well, because it was in that your music
Oh
video
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. No, especially on a budget. Well, that's kind of the whole joke of that. The Red State Blues, that video. Like I wanted to do something like the song. The vibe of that song sounds so serious. It sounds like it's just heavy. It's very metally kind of thing, but like lyrically, it's very tongue in cheek. And I wanted to have the vibe of the video match that. So,
Yeah.
and it really is a challenge too, making good content, as I'm sure you guys, I'm assuming you guys know, on a budget and having a real job outside of all this stuff and everything too. And you're trying to do basically the same quality of work that people are doing who have 10 times the amount of free time and 10 times the money.
Mhm.
So I thought maybe leaning into some humor might be a good way to kind of maybe draw a couple of eyeballs. So I'm glad you guys actually took the time to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love the videos. Yeah, I had a
Thank you.
chance to look at a lot of the videos, and I'm really digging the Insider. That's a great video. I love
Right.
the vibe of the song, and the aggression and how it takes you on a journey and a story. But yeah, your videos, I love the concepts. They're really cool.
Well, thank
And
you
it
so
definitely
much.
keeps the listener engaged, and I really appreciate that. With our music videos, we're like, it's a little bit more. We tackle it from real life examples. Like
Uh,
we're like very specific about it. But I like how your videos, they have the storyline, but they also have these really great, interesting concepts, very conceptual. So I definitely vibe with that. I think that's really cool, man.
Thank you. I mean, we've been lucky enough that we've been able to do, quite a few now. So I think part of it is also trying to keep each one somewhat unique in the vibe and in the feel of it. And again, going back to Red State, that was one that was more kind of like humorous. And we got ones that are, tackle slightly more serious subjects. But, ultimately, it's awfully hard to get people's attention nowadays. It's not like, people act like bands like you and us are like competing against each other or something. I think especially when you're in a smaller market and there's always a vibe of a competition. And I think as if there's only so much, so you got to grab the ring and only one can get it. But I mean, I really think there's room for everybody to kind of do that stuff. And I think by putting out good content, you've got better chance of getting eyeballs and ears on whatever you're doing. And hopefully that's going to translate to people showing up at shows and, and maybe then people that like my band or whatever might show up and see you guys and go, hey, they're kind of similar. They're pretty cool. Let me check out them. And maybe, we can start a little bit more of a scene going around here, because I think that's one thing that really, particularly in the last couple of decades, has been a little bit more missing, like in the hard rock and metal type of scene. There's just not really as much of a unified scene. Like if you look back even in Boston in the 90s, you had all these big bands coming up like, Stained and Godsmack and Powerman 5000. And I mean, just rattle them off. Nowadays, I mean, it's a lot tougher out there. So I think just trying to get people's attention for 5 minutes alone is hard. So having good content is really key. And we try to get it out on a relatively consistent basis too.
That's great. And it's funny you're bringing this up too, because we were actually we touched on this topic on our first episode last week. And, excuse me, I was saying that I feel like, yes, the scene is definitely it's been hard around the Boston area, right? There hasn't been a lot of activity. Early 2000s, like it was still there, but it started petering off around, I feel like 2005, and
Totally
on.
agree.
But now over the last few months, I mean, we just started getting back out playing again, Travis, and I'm seeing sort of this rise with hard rock and metal activity again, which is exciting for me, even at the local level.
Mhm.
I mean, we got you guys, we have us, and then there's other bands like Red Crown and
They're very
Jason
good too.
Example. Yeah. So like
We
now,
tried to get them on a show with us. I think it might have been Taffeta when we played last year, but it just didn't work out, the timing. They sound great. They're another one that's really up and coming. And there are some. I don't mean to sound disparaging about
no, of course, no, but
it's not like it used to be. I mean, people just aren't going out to shows like they used to, especially post-COVID. I mean, and I'm hearing it from venues. Venues are closing up left and right all throughout the region, and probably, I'm assuming, nationwide and worldwide. So it's tough out there, I guess, is all I'm saying. And I think it's great when people can support each other that have similar mindsets and goals toward what they're trying to accomplish.
Agreed. Yeah. No, so I feel like it's an exciting time. It's an opportunity to capitalize amongst us groups, and maybe what we can do is, as we continue to play more shows, we build the base again around the New England area. We can now maybe put our own fest, or have these bigger shows and have 5-6 bands and just pack the place and bring that vibe back in the day. Like you mentioned, Godsmack and some of the locals, like they used to play up at like Club 125 in Haverhill. It would be Godsmack, some of the guys from Stain, like, and they would just pack the place. And this is before they were really big, right? So getting back to that level, that's what this scene needs. This is what this scene needs. And you're right, it's been a challenge, man. All the venues closing. I mean, we used to play the Hard Rock a lot in Boston, and gone, and it's every day.
We lost contacts. I mean, well, we didn't really lose contact. People are still around, but like people got out of the business. People moved on in their lives. I mean, like we were doing, we've done a few national tours, and like some of the members of those bands have since left the bands. And like, I mean, are we even going to ever get an opportunity like that again? And since then, let me see, 3 of us have kids now, you know what I mean? So like everything's kind of changing, life just constantly moving on. But as you said, like trying to build a scene, trying to have, draw interest. I think that's honestly harder than ever. I feel like music has become very, very disposable and expendable to most people. It's really hard. It's hard to get 5 minutes of people's attention. And I appreciate everybody and anybody that reaches out that says, hey, I love this song, or even, I mean, like, it means actually probably more with you guys, because you guys are doing the same thing, that you took 5 minutes and checked out a video. Whether you check out anything again or feel compelled to do that, it's another story. But it's awesome, because it's like, okay, somebody appreciated something that I took a lot of time and effort to make.
Yeah, we do all the work, all of us, right? We're our own labels in a sense. We have to do everything today.
Even with even with like all the promoters leaving during COVID, now most venues are making you book your own show and get your own bands and do everything on your own.
Yeah, it's nuts. And I was texting with my band earlier. And, networking is so important too, even just outside of the bands, but just meeting promoters. And even if like a particular show doesn't do as well as you hoped, attendance wise or anything like that, if maybe you play really well, you catch the right person's eye, maybe it creates another opportunity. So, but like, man, you just got to be kicking in doors left and right to try to get any kind of success nowadays. I do feel like that's much harder. I have some friends that are a little older that have been around, in the 90s and stuff, and had some relative success. And it was hard back then too. But as I said, it wasn't just even so much a scene of musicians and stuff, but also just a lot of times people on the weekends, they were in that habit of going out and checking out shows. Let's go check out Silent Season. Let's see what they're doing. Are they going to play any covers? They playing all originals? What's going on? Let's check it out. Let's go have some fun, and they drop $10. Nowadays, it's like, it's just tough. It's tough. And that's always another question too. If you do book your own shows, like, especially if it costs you a lot of money, like we've done some that are further away, and you got to pay for hotels and all that stuff. And then you have people that are fans. They've become friendly, but that you met them through music, and then they're hitting you up like, hey, can you get me into this one for free? It's like, I don't know if you guys understand that we got a couple grand right on this thing right now, like your $10 can make a big difference, you know.
For sure. We want the VIP treatment. Guest list, please.
Yeah, the guest
Everybody.
list.
Everybody.
I'll help you carry a case.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I'll buy
Like,
you
how
a
about
drink.
I
But it's
carry
like,
my own
buy your
case,
ticket.
and you can just pitch in a couple of bucks to help me out here.
I
I
know.
don't think that people understand like how much of yourself, your time, your money, everything you have to roll into this stuff to even get like that little piece.
Yeah.
Like you or us have had, you know, and also, by the way, congratulations to you guys on, I mean, you do great numbers, like your Facebook followers, Spotify, everything is just, it looks like it's growing and growing, and
Appreciate that.
great. And that is a rarity. I mean, like you're in that upper percent that you see, you know, even matter of fact, nationally. And I don't know how much you guys really pay attention on the promo side of things. Obviously you do quite a bit of it, but I mean, nationally, man, most bands don't break 1,000 listeners, you know?
Yeah,
So-
well, it's a good topic to touch on for this because
Sure.
you know, I notice all the marketing you guys are doing, and we're
Yeah.
attached to that with the mentions. I mean, you guys have that great organic reach. I mean, everyone's sharing it, they're loving stuff, and you know, something that we've suffered with because of the changes with the algorithms and social media. You know, a lot of our fan base, because we've been around for 16 years now, right? So we had a fan base when we first started, right? And now over time we have new followers, but they're different age audience, different demographic, right? So they're maybe not as engaged. Going back to your topic from before, they think about the internet differently. They're going over TikTok instead of Facebook and these other. So we got to get very specific about how we market ourselves, because organic reach is limited in some of these places. Even Instagram, I was saying to Brendan on the last podcast about 2 months ago, just like Facebook, when Facebook went public, they put the break on the organic reach, and you had to do all the paid ads and boost posts, right? Same with Instagram. I know Facebook owns Instagram, but like same thing right now. Instagram just finally caught up this year with that same place, and it's like, I want to say, you know, if labels or management or agents that are out there, it's like you guys can't look at social media the same way that you were looking at it before, because there's so many limitations. And I get it. I know what they're going to say. Well, we don't care. Figure it out, make it happen, get the numbers, right? So that's why like everyone's like shifting over to TikTok, making these videos and being viral, and you have to become like a viral sensation, when we in fact we want to focus on the music, create great tunes, build our business, and focus on the brand. It's tough, man. It's a tough job.
And I'll be honest, like one of our many failures is like we're not even on TikTok, you know what I mean? We I guess everybody's old. Everybody's over 30. We got people over 40. We got nobody's on TikTok. You know what I mean? And you know, and that's, everybody constantly says get on it. But I mean, like for me, I mean, like if anybody wants to do TikTok, it's gonna have to be somebody else in my band, because I'm tapped. Like
You're busy.
I got one toddler. I got a baby on the way. I got
man.
work,
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I got band. I've got like a very extremely, and only the fact that I sleep very little, I think, do I get as much done as I do. I have a lot of insomnia and stuff, so that keeps me productive.
I hear you,
man. But we've also been around a long time. I mean, the band has been around since 2012. I joined almost 10 years ago. I think it was September of 2014. A lot of growing pains, and it really wasn't until probably about 5 years after. Well, no, because we did a lot of cool stuff before that. Like our recordings and stuff never really got to where they're at until just really a few years ago, when we just kept constantly shifting and changing personnel and figuring out what works and what doesn't. I mean, we didn't even used to record like to a grid or any of that kind of stuff, you know. And there's pros and cons with all that, but you know, just to stay competitive in today's market, again, especially with time limitations, talent limitations, to be honest with you, everything, those things are immensely helpful to have a great engineer, editor, all that kind of stuff, as somebody that's got a really good ear that tells you like, hey Trav, like I see what you're doing here, but this should be this note because this is conflicting with the guitar, and I'll show you why. And that was definitely kind of missing in the early days. And then just as you grow and improve also, I think you just get better at all this stuff. But it's an ongoing battle trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. Yeah, I mean, like we've had songs that have taken off pretty big, like on Discover Weekly and
Nice.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some pretty organically, some we've done just so much promotion and push, and then for whatever reason they still didn't grow as much, even though like you still believe in the song. It's weird out there, man. It's
I hear
wild,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
It really is.
Wow, it is a Wild West. It's like
Yeah.
even like we've had songs on Octane, like one song
That's
went
awesome.
on Octane, it did well, and but from there, I mean, yeah, a couple people reached out, but it wasn't. It's just like what next? Like where do we go?
Every big
there,
thing that you do, you kind of feel like for half a second, like, oh my God, I made it.
Right. Yeah.
What is it?
Like,
I made it. Like I did a big show. Okay.
Yeah.
And then like you get like this windfall of followers or people that reach out to you, and then a week later you're just back in your regular life or
back
whatever.
to work. Yeah.
Yeah, I've become pretty comfortable with the idea that that's to a degree never going to change. I just am obsessed with getting more of those great opportunities and having work with things. We haven't been on Octane. I would love that. So if you guys got any connections, hook me up.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, all that kind of stuff. It's just like it's a little feather in your cap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes when they happen, you feel like, okay, this is just the first time, and it's going to happen again, and then it just doesn't happen.
Yeah. The consistency's tough. It's hard to keep up.
Yeah. Extremely. And then like the next thing you know, you'll put out a new song or whatever, and just for whatever reason, it's like you said, you're getting all these organic shares, all this. And I've discussed this with a band a lot. Like we've had members that have been like, oh, this song, this is going to be the one that people really are attracted to. This is going to be the one that everybody likes. I'm like, man, I want to get too comfortable or complacent with saying that because you just don't know. Some of our stuff that people have written to me and said, like, this is like my favorite song is like one that nobody thought was going to really garner that much. Yeah. They all thought it was going to be this one because it seems to have that natural hook. It seems to have that big chorus or whatever. And it's like, yeah, I mean, they all do fine. It seems, knock on wood, thing that we've all been doing pretty well.
Nice.
But yeah, some different people also. Different people are attracted to different things. Some like the comedy of the Red State Blues video. Others like something like The Insider that's a little more just straightforward, like people rocking out. Yeah.
Yeah, so, that was me.
That
was me. We have our differences, Brendan and I. We already we're fighting over
everyone's got different tastes.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's actually part of the charm of it all, I think, is trying to like, I consider us to be a band that's fairly diverse. So like, okay, so maybe The Insider's not for you, and maybe the Red State Blues isn't for you, but maybe if you like the other one, you're going to be interested enough to check out one more song and maybe eventually go down the rabbit hole and find something to like. I grew up in the era, with CDs and stuff like that and MP3 downloading and all that kind of stuff. And there's so much stuff that I fell in love with that wasn't initially my favorite song. I'm almost always that guy. Like when one of my favorite bands puts out a new album, the first single doesn't end up being my favorite song on the album. Yeah. It's usually, if it's a single, it's like the second or third single. And then it'll be like some album tracks. I'm like, how does everybody not know this song? This is so good. That's always what attracted me and made me love music is that kind of album format. When bands that were very good at it did it. Some bands really are just, they have that song, they have that one single and that's it. But the bands that do great albums, I mean, my God, like you can listen to front to back and you're like, how did they come up with this?
Well, that's a difficult thing about today with, like you said, we all grew up in the CD era, right? Even tape, cassette tapes. But like there was concepts, going back to the whole topic of concepts, like, you would pick up a CD or, and you would have
open up the liner notes, look at the lyric.
The lyric.
Where did they record this? Who's that producer? Who's that?
Right. Yeah, right. Who are they working with? That's how we get information on Rico stock, for our band. So it's like,
I mean, since I was a kid, I couldn't believe that like Gateway Mastering in Portland, Maine was like the place to go, it seemed, for most like rock bands and stuff. You'd always see like Bob Ludwig at Gateway, like mastered this giant band's album. I'm like, wow, that's so cool. This place right near me, like where I grew up is doing all this awesome work in the record industry.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's like, would you record this in your basement?
pulled up Logic in my basement.
Exactly. Recorded in my bedroom in like 15 minutes.
What was that comment we got on YouTube? Up or In Flames, it sounds like it was mixed by like a carrot or something.
Oh yeah, we got some haters. It's okay. We
Everybody
laugh at
does.
it. You gotta laugh at it. Someone said it sounds like it's been mixed by a rabbit and a carrot or something like that. I don't know, but hey, man.
Somebody once said that we sound. I think they said we sound like Manowar without the talent or something like that.
Man.
I'm like, oh man, that's pretty brutal.
Damn.
It was
Why
funny
do
though.
people do this? Why are they doing this,
It was
man?
funny. I don't know, like because it's easier to just sit there and hate on people. I think too, but I think that also like those people don't. I mean, and they got no reason to care. But I mean, they also they just don't realize that we are like more regular people that are like doing this out of our passion or love and these things that we grew up with, and just trying to do our best and everything. And again, like just some people are just. I mean, I don't know if you can swear on this thing, but some people are just assholes.
Yeah.
And they're just going to do that with no matter. You could like save a baby from a burning building and they'd be like, hey, douchebag, your fly's down.
Yeah.
You know?
What's going on?
Yeah. What's wrong with you?
Well, it's perception too. Like I think a lot of people don't realize, a lot of the indie artists, the unsigned artists, like again, how much work we all really have to do. And like I had we played a show at Worcester at the Palladium, and someone said to me, I had someone come out and they're like, where's your van or where's your bus? I'm like, what are you talking about? We're unsigned. I mean, we were pulling up in our cars. We had a couple of vans that broke down, but that's another story. But
yeah,
we just pulled up in our own cars, and they're like, wow, you're really like a working class musician. It's like, it's been like that for the last like 20 years. Like, I mean, it's nothing different. Even my wife, we did some touring too. We bought on a couple of tours. My wife's like, so you're gonna make a lot of money. Like when I first met her.
Right. Yeah.
We actually paid the National.
Who did you guys tour with?
Seven Dust, 10 years.
That must have been God. Yeah, I remember reading that actually. My God, like that is like bucket list for me.
Yeah.
My
it's
God.
Great.
10 years?
10 years.
10 years. Oh my God. Now I can't think of the album. I
wasn't
even. What?
Division or what's the first one?
No, it was actually one that came out just like maybe 10 years ago. I'm going to look it up right now. It like I was never into them at all. And then I'm going to find it right now because I just did I don't know if you pay any attention, but I do this thing where I listen to like every song by a band on
I saw
Spotify.
that. I see in your post.
Yeah. Oh, How to Live as Ghosts. How to Live as Ghosts came out about maybe 10 years ago or something. And that like blew the gate. I ended up buying the CD of it. And I was like, man, like that kicks off the song called The Messenger. It's so good. 10 years, amazing band. Seven Dust though is like bucket list. Yeah. I just one time want to play with those guys. I've watched them live. I don't know, maybe 6, 8, 10 times. And they are one of the most amazing live bands. You have to experience it. Even if you're not a fan, I tell everybody, go to one show of Seven Dust. That's amazing that you guys did that. They treat you well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, very well. And like they even try to be like friendly, like, oh, how you doing? And I wanted to like talk to them one day. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Like kind of hiding.
That's awesome. No,
Didn't Clint like scare you too? Like,
yeah, it was Philadelphia. I was trying to take a nap in the van. And so I'm in the driver's seat just snoozing back. And then I hear something. I look over and Clint's face is right there in the window.
That's so cool.
And scared the crap out of me. But I rolled down the window to talk to him and he was on the phone. He's like, hey, and just walked away. I'm like, oh, come on.
No, that's awesome, man. Those guys are incredible. Like I watched them play acoustic before. I've seen them a bunch of times. They just always blow me away. Yeah. So good. And Lejeune is, I mean, definitely one of my idols as far as like a singer.
Brilliant talent.
So incredible. A good lyricist. I mean, they're all good lyricists. Actually, all pretty good on vocals.
Oh,
between, Morgan Scream, like everybody can do something vocally that's cool, which I always admire also in bands. We just played with another local band recently called Revision, just a 3-piece, but like they have 2 guys. They sound like Chevelle. I mean, very, very much like Chevelle, but I was very impressed because like both of the guys, on guitar could both sing as well. And they were doing harmonies and everything. Like, oh man, these guys are great, so that's another band locally that I'm, keeping my eye on. So I told them afterwards, you guys were awesome. So they're out of Southern Maine, I believe.
Oh,
that's awesome. We'll have to check that out. And I wanted to ask you, Travis, as part of the conversation, I've seen from your bio, I mean, you guys have shared the stage with some really heavy hitters yourself.
Yeah.
Like Megadeth, Godsmack, Korn, Evanescence, the list goes on. Tell us a little bit more about that. I'd love to learn more about that.
Yeah. So we have, Megadeth, 3 Days Grace. Those were both like Hampton Beach Casino Ballroom. We had a phase again, like pre-COVID, where we got a lot of opportunities like that, and then, again, like it's just hasn't materialized as much since then. I mean, everything just kind of. I mean, we literally played the March 15th of 2020. We did like a couple of shows with Head PE, or friends of ours. We've toured with them before.
Nice.
Head PE, and I don't remember who else was on that show off the top of my head. Might have been, I think, might have been Drowning Pool and El Nino. I can't remember, but yeah, literally, like everybody was talking about this COVID thing, and then it was March 16th, which happened to also be my sister's birthday, so it made it really easy to remember. But like everything shut down.
Yeah.
They sent those guys home, everything. But doing those big shows with those huge bands, it really does show you a lot of once you jump up in your weight class a little bit, the way that you're treated, the way that things are paid attention to, kind of all of it. It's like, oh wow. And this isn't to say anything bad about a lot of the small clubs that we've played with in the bars, which has been most of our scene. But once you play those bigger shows, people kind of treat you like you've made it, even if you're like still you're opening, you're just ready. You got your drum kit in front of like 2 other drum kits or whatever, but you're on that big stage. All of a sudden, all the stagehands, can I get you anything? Can I do anything for you? The sound is better, even though it's a guy who's still never heard you before. Everything is just amped up to that kind of next level.
Yeah.
So that's incredible. And also just the way that the fans treat you and everything. I mean, the amount of autographs that you sign, kind of all of it. It goes from doing a smaller show like we're doing together, where hopefully you're going to win a few people over, and then you're going to see some friends and some fans that that always show up and all that kind of stuff, to being this thing where everybody's like, how have I not heard of you? Like this is great. And that makes you feel so good. And then, like I said, then you go home and it's like, okay, now I got to work on Monday. So that's the reality. The reality hits you again. But yeah, once I started doing all that, that's actually where I created a second Facebook account. That's the one that I communicate with you guys on, because I started getting so many friend requests from people that I have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
And it got a little weird, especially once I'm trying to push band stuff and then family stuff and all of it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have this one for more band stuff. I let them cross over once in a while, but for the most part, it's like, okay, I'm going to try to keep all my band stuff over here and do my family stuff over here, because it just got really weird after a while.
Yeah, some weird stuff. Yeah, I hear that.
You guys still have people that hit you up to try to get you back out to their state or their city and stuff? Because I found that a little bit too. We get people reaching out, when are you coming back to Denver or whatever? And I'm like, well, depends if anybody invites us out to Denver and we can figure out how to make it happen,
Yeah, we get that a lot. Even like different countries were like, yeah, we can't afford that.
Get that a lot too.
Yeah.
Next time you guys play Germany, I'm there. Like, all right, buddy.
See you tomorrow.
Germany. Yeah. I'll see you there. You paying or how?
Yeah.
And then you're going to get there, and that guy's going to hit you up and be like, "Hey, man, think you can get me in for free?"
Yes, listen
me. I want the VIP treatment. How much for that shirt? You think I'd give you $10 less? Would that be cool? Yeah, I'd love to lose money and give you a shirt in the show that I'm losing money on. That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Everyone gets a shirt. You get a shirt. They get a shirt.
Yeah, everybody gets a shirt. Get a shirt cannon. Just fire them all, because of course it's free and we're all just filthy rich. So
multi-million-dollar record contracts, man.
Exactly. Right? And honestly, like even making friends with some of the people that are in bigger bands and talking with them, even back in the day, there was always this gamble when you get that big record contract. I remember talking with this one guy from a big band, and I won't say who they are because I don't know if he wants everybody to know, but they had to sell, like, I think they had to sell close. I might be misquoting, but it was either $500,000 or $1 million before they basically see a dime on this particular record. And then they end up selling like a couple million, and that basically made them.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, you talk about taking a gamble on yourself.
I know.
But the record company put a lot of money behind you back then too. Nowadays, if you get something too, you're lucky if you get a deal where they're really going to even do much for you.
Right.
We've had offers, not from any of the big guys. Don't get me wrong on that, but we've had a lot of offers from smaller labels. But when you look at what they have to offer you, it appears that you're investing still in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even really know what there is for it. It seems like a lot of times that they're just collecting part of the so-called
What you're
profit.
doing. Yeah.
You know, there might be more benefit to it. Have you guys been on a label, or have you always been indie?
We've always been independent. Right now, we're distributed through a company called Earth Program, and also they're part of the Virgin Music Group.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, it's really cool. I think it's a good next step for us as a band. Just like you, we had a couple of smaller labels reach out. You know, it didn't pan out, unfortunately. But we have this new distributor that we're working with. I've known the person that is running it for some time in the industry. I met him a while back, and it's doing great. I mean, it's good for us, man. They help us with some marketing. We distribute our music, but we're still in control of the business, right? Like you were saying, and it works. There's a nice balance to it. I mean, we could probably stand to be always doing more. Don't get me wrong, but it works for where we are in our lives, in our career here as a band, and what we're doing. Because some of us, like you said, we have families too. Some of us have kids, Brendan and I, and in our bassist as well. So it works out nicely because we can still get the exposure. And if we have to be weekend warriors here and there and go out of state, we can, and then come home. Because I watched that Nickelback documentary. I know we're talking about Nickelback, but before they signed with Roadrunner, I mean, they were touring nonstop. They were out there doing it for like 18 months, and they didn't have that same liberty. Like to get the attention that they wanted, they had to like do all this crazy stuff to really lock in that deal that they wanted. And I just don't know if that works for certain bands, especially in today's
different era. I mean, that's 25 plus years ago.
Right. True.
So it's completely different now with the digital age.
Yeah. And so even though the digital age has its cons, it also balances out some of the other things that we can keep in house.
Yeah.
As the pro,
it's got a lot of pros too. And like you guys kind of alluded to, I mean, having fans all over the world too. I'm probably the biggest thing that keeps us going is honestly the fact that people keep reaching out, and that we put a new album out and then we have people going, hey, I want a copy of this and I'm in Italy. How much is it going to cost me to ship this and everything? And you wouldn't believe what people pay because it costs a freaking small fortune. But people are paying I can't even remember, $30-$40 to ship a single disc, you know what I mean? Out to Europe and stuff. And they do it. And then they also pay for it on top of it. So it's $55 for a single CD, even in this era where they could get it for free. For some people, it means that much. So that really helps keep you going when you have the people that reach out that are like, I'm going to plop down my hard-earned money, or I'm going to, I'll do whatever it takes. I want to support you. And they're all worldwide. So I like I said, I don't want to sound disparaging of that. It's just kind of funny because our fan base, partially by design and partially by the fact that we've gotten a little bit bigger on Spotify and YouTube and all that, but they're so diversified and around. There are, I'm sure, many local bands that have much bigger local fan bases than we do, and are much bigger fish in this small pond. But we're a very small fish in the kind of big pond. So we've got a few in kind of every town, it seems like, but it doesn't always add up to a lot when you try to throw a show together that everybody's going to show up, because some of them have to drive and some of them do, 2, 3, 4 hours to get out to your show. I remember we played a show recently in Maine, and I never did find out who it was, but the attendance wasn't as good as we wanted and everything, which is often the case because I'm always looking to pack a place, and it doesn't happen most of the time. It does sometimes, but not always. But it wasn't as well attended and stuff. I was talking to the venue owners afterwards and stuff, and they're like, yeah, this car full of people came in, and they were like, we drove 3 hours to be here. We want to see Mammothor and all that. It's like, they were just drunk out of their mind.
Oh.
And I'm like, I can't have you come in the venue. I can't send you home. Why don't we feed you? So they fed them and sent them home. But I'm like, man, I kind of wish you let them in.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough situation. The other part
was like, man, I hope people aren't drinking and driving half the way, across the state or the region.
You should have waited until you got to the venue.
Yeah, exactly. Get bombed at the venue and get a hotel,
Yeah.
But
man.
But yeah, so you end up with this smattering of people in this town and that town and this town and that town. And I've definitely talked to people too that are like, if you want to be big, like if you're going to play Lowell, like we're all playing together soon, just keep hitting Lowell, keep going back there, play Drake it, play Lowell, play play that area, and keep coming back, make it a party. But there's also the part of me that's kind of like, well, I kind of like to, go out and let's try to hit Bangor once a year. Let's get up that way and
go to Maine.
Yeah, go to those people. And then what you find is like that some people will actually go from there all the way to Lowell, but it's not as many. So I don't know, man. It's like you guys were kind of saying, it's a lot of give and take.
Of course.
We end up with this smattering of people kind of all over the world that are really into us. And then but they're always like, hey, this guy even today was like, come to Kentucky. I'm like, all right, buddy, I will see you there. And probably just you. But I'll see you in Kentucky, I wish that we were rich and we could just travel and do it for fun. And I do feel like, one thing that I take a little bit of pride into, and I guess you could call it ego, but I do think that we've had enough of these small successes where I'm like, you know what, in another life, had I started this and just things have been a little different, I think I could have made it. I think I
say that to myself, I say the same thing, Travis, all the time. I'm like, the timing, where I was at in my life,
everything,
the music industry, and
all of it. Exactly. I'm like, I've had so many people that are like, man, if only you had hit, if this was the late 90s or something, you'd be huge. If this was the, or whatever. And it's not because we're just out of our era in sound. It's because of like just the way the times are, and like I said, and then you got kids and wives and all the stuff, and life just keeps on moving on. But you take a little bit of pride in that too, that there are people that recognize that. And I think that there's some truth to it, and it shows you too, that the difference between being massive and being pretty small is like, it can be one thing. It could be just that timing. It could be that one connection. It could be that one moment of just something, look at nowadays, the way things are with TikTok and all that. You get the Hawk Tua girl blowing up over just like an offhand joke comment, and she's gonna make millions off that stuff. It's insane.
I told Dave we should probably do a dance.
A little infuriating, but also good for her.
Yeah, I saw it, like, because Barstool and all these pages post about her, and like she was in New York the other day, and I think if I read correctly, she's like trying to put some music together. She's got a manager like having her do all these different things, and I'm like, what the heck, man? Like, seriously.
Her warm up is going to be like before she sings.
Well, you know what? We can put more shows on together, and we can have her. Well, she's probably not going to want to open, but we can put her in the lineup, and maybe the crowd will come. And but that's the thing. Like, that's what I was saying earlier. It's like everything's got to be like a viral sensation. It's like we lost track of the thing that's most important, and that's the creativity in the music.
It's like that girl from Dr. Phil. Remember her?
Oh,
Catch Me Outside.
Catch Me Outside.
She got like a record deal, and it's not even good.
Oh yeah, she signed to a major.
Bad Baby. That's what she calls herself. And she seems like a pretty bad person. But
look, I'm not cutting up any of these artists. They're artists in their respective ways. I great for them.
I'm a little bit with her. She was terribly disrespectful and rude with her mother. And
that's right.
And
that's
she only got famous by being shocking and kind of an asshole and acting not very nice. So whatever. Maybe she's great. Good for her. But I don't think so. Yeah, and she'll never see this anyway. So
all right, we're putting paid promotion behind this.
Oh yeah, here she comes. Yeah, we're gonna patch her in right now. That's my wife. You want to explain yourself? Like, oh crap, oh sorry.
And here she is.
But like definitely the viral stuff like you're talking about is huge, and I've got no idea how to do it. And you take something like the Red State Blues that you liked or whatever, and it's like, are people actually going to watch this? Are they going to watch like a minute of my bad acting before it even gets to the music? They always say, don't bore us, get to the chorus. But you're looking at 2 minutes to get to the chorus on this video. Does anybody have the attention span? So I was like trying to keep it moving, like it's always Sunny style or something. So when I'm doing my little rant, which I think we only did like a few takes of it, but nice. I'm just trying to keep really that kind of Charlie energy going.
Yeah. I didn't even put
I'm all excited and everybody else is bored, I'm sorry.
I didn't even put that together until you said
Well,
that.
yeah, no, it's
Probably
just
with the board.
well, no, what? Yeah, not even that. That wasn't like there wasn't like an inspiration, but definitely like when you see those guys and they get that bouncy back and forth conversation. I mean, there's no time wasted like in their comedy and stuff. So I was like, okay, I got to keep this thing moving, or people are just going to tune out, you know. But yeah, like you're probably better off if you have a 15-second clip of something that's maybe a little more provocative, and then people can share it. I guess that seems to be what the culture's kind of come to. But you know, and I gotta be honest with you, like I'm a little bit there myself. I tell myself all the time. I'll be honest, like I'm definitely addicted to the cell phone. I check it habitually, like constantly. It seems I always have to be, you know, and they design it that way too, so it buzzes or it flashes or whatever every time anything happens, and most of the time it's not anything of importance. But by the same token, having a 3-year-old, I'm scared to death of like this world that she's going to grow up in, where she's going to be doing this, where I feel like as a grown adult I can kind of handle it, although sometimes I do think it's gotten out of control, because I find that sometimes I'll like pick this thing up and I'll look at it, and then when I look up, I'm like, oh my God, I just lost like 5 minutes. I just lost like 10 minutes. What happened? It's like you come out of this trance, you know, and then you think about if you're a little kid, what that's like.
Yeah.
So it's funny. By the same token, you know, you're asking people to spend 5 minutes, or you know, if you have a whole album, you ask them to spend 40 minutes or whatever, just with your music. And meanwhile, like they're getting pulled in 1,000 different directions at all times, and that's kind of scary. And that goes for all of us, but particularly younger people. It's crazy the world that everybody's growing up in now.
Yeah, and you know, kind of going off that thought, going back to the social media topic for a second. I mean, I'm hearing now like there's a couple of marketing folks out there that help bands, you know, and I think there's what was his name, Brendan? Do you remember that dude's name that was on Doc Coyle's podcast from Bad Wolves, the marketer, Bacon Bits, I think his name.
Yeah, Bacon Bits.
Yeah. So he helps bands. I don't know if you've seen any of the ads on Instagram, Travis. So he helps bands, and he seems really like knowledgeable. I mean, he seems like a subject matter expert in the field, but he's basically telling bands, look, you know, you got to, on these platforms, it's all about keeping eyeballs on, and like you said, engaged with the content. So it's not just about posting once or twice here and there. You literally got to like
constant
work out the whole week of content, post multiple times every day. And like TikTok, he's like, you got to be posting like 10 times a day. Facebook is like 6.
I've been told the same thing.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's like we're becoming content workers. Like we have to be nonstop putting out content, and like it takes us away from working and thinking about.
Oh God, 1,000%. So you guys must know the Red 13 guys and stuff.
Oh
like,
yeah,
Mark from Prospect Hill and all that. I mean, we've had those conversations with them as well, and they're quite good at all that stuff. But they were like, you know, talking about with Instagram, because we wanted to grow it, you know, and it just hasn't happened, because I'm, again, like I kind of do the Facebook side of things, but I told everybody else, I'm like, you got to handle this. But
the other stuff,
he's like, you know, map it out, post for like a whole week, have stuff, you know, have content ready to go, be constantly creating and looking for the next thing. But short of any one person making that their biggest focus, or somebody who can just quit their job and just do that, I don't know how you could ever do that.
Yeah. It's difficult.
Oh my God. Like just to come up with the content, and then to create it, and then to schedule it, and then to do this week after week, it becomes a grind. I mean, I'm assuming in order to do that for multiple posts a day, say for like 2 or 3 stories a day, and say 1 or 2 real posts, I'm assuming you're going to need, at least to do a whole week, you probably need to spend what, 4 or 5 hours on that at least?
Easily.
Yeah. 10 hours. So say 5 to 10 hours. I mean, who's got that time? And then also you're going to write music. You know, which one of you guys does the lyrics in your band?
The singer.
Yeah, our singer does. Yeah.
Okay, he does it all. Does he find that that's something that always comes really easy to him, or does he sometimes get writer's block and stuff? Because sometimes I have songs, it seems like the whole thing, I'm like smiling. It just seems like it's just kind of coming out. I don't know where from. And I'm like grinning. And then other stuff, man, I struggle so much. I go through like 1,000 drafts of it. And but at my best, I'm probably slower than most. But if you take away that time from me, and now I'm like doing Instagram posts, you know, the art suffers that you're trying to do for your your music as well, because
Yeah.
something's got to give at a certain point. You can only really do so much before you're just like, okay, you know, my kid actually has to brush their teeth at some point.
Right.
You know, I can't keep making Instagram posts. Yeah. So I think that's awesome advice. But somebody would have to be in charge of that strategy.
Agreed.
And then somebody has to be in charge of executing it and
Mhm.
be able to faithfully do that.
Right.
And that's the other thing too, is I have band members sometimes that'll be like, okay, I'm going to start doing this thing. And it lasts for all of about, a week. And then life gets in the way and then it disappears. Do you guys divvy up the work in that way? Or does somebody kind of tend to do the lion's share of, like, say, social media content or whatever?
I mean, we try to like divvy it up, but like like Dave's usually the social media guy. But then I was coming up with stuff and I was like, can I do this? Can I do this?
Yeah. That's
But
great.
yeah, we try to divvy up stuff. Like I usually take care of like the live stuff too.
Oh, okay, that's good.
He's the
So-
rack.
Jeremy's the
sorry?
recording guy.
Oh, okay. There
Yeah,
you
Brendan
go.
does the rack like for the direct and all that stuff. So he's
Awesome.
got that all set up and lights, and he's the tech guy, and the vocalist does the recording. I'm like the business side of things, so like social media, but there's also dealing with the booking agents and radio promo, and the other guys also help in different buckets of those areas. So we're all in. It's all in. It's a business plan, but
That's awesome.
yeah, I mean, we do what we can, and I've always said, I don't want to sound like a music industry pro guy here, but this band has always needed support. There's a lot of bands out there that say I can do it myself. I don't need anyone. I got the money, and
Yeah.
like I said, finding a balance between both, and I think this next step we took, it's definitely helpful for us with the distribution. But like finding a balance that works for us and we feel good about the relationship and being able to do what we need to do it's perfect. Some bands do it all themselves and they can focus the whole time on doing it all themselves and have the money to do and the capital to do it. Not all bands have the capital. I think a lot of people realize that. Like they're like, why would you ever want to sign with a label? Why?
Yeah.
You give up your masters. Like you said, you might not recoup money until you sell X. But it's like not every scenario is the same. It's not, there's all differences, and each band requires something different, right? So, I understand a lot of people are like, oh, labels are a bank at the end of the day. No, some labels have deep routed connections and networking and can get you on these things that you do not have the ability to do. And if you find the right relationship and the right agreement, and you have a great entertainment lawyer, you can make something work for you. Totally. I guess I bring this up because it's like we talk about content creation, we talk about all this work. At some point, the band can only do so much,
right?
Because we're all working full-time jobs. So I don't want to make this sound like I'm complaining, but
no, I'm in the same boat.
Work for certain bands.
Mm-hmm. And I think my criticisms earlier of some of the smaller labels and stuff too doesn't even mean that they don't mean well or that it's not something that can work for some people. It's just the first thing that I'll usually do when we get any kind of interest from anybody is kind of look at who else they're working with, look at their roster. And when I find that we're already doing much bigger than kind of most of the roster or all of it, I'm kind of like, okay, so what are they actually going to be offering us? And then, I don't know. I guess if there's not a lot of monetary support or anything, it feels like you're giving up a lot for the hope that they might do something and have those connections and stuff.
Right.
I found that at our level with kind of everything, and again, it's not really meant to be a complaint or even a criticism, but like we're all sort of supporting each other, like at whatever level we're at. So like when we hire photographers, a lot of them, we do have some that do a lot of the big bands and stuff, but for the most part, they're smaller, independent kind of freelance photographers that, they want to make a couple bucks for the night and go out and they'll shoot all the bands or shoot you or whatever, and they do a good job. But they're also trying to build their name, and they're trying to build their brand. Same thing with a lot of the online radio and stuff like that. A lot of them are trying to build themselves up in addition to building you. So we always do our best to kind of share or like or comment on the things when they play us. But it's not like we're getting like, you know, Atlantic Records back in the day or something that's just constantly coming down and be like, yo, boys, you know, come on out to New York. What do you think? You know, we're going to offer you this much money and we'll do 3 records. You know, and it's like, no, it's never been anything like that. It's always felt more like they're already kind of a little bit at the same level of what they have. It just might be for different things that they're better at and different things that they're maybe not as good at. But for us personally, so far, there hasn't been anything on the table that made me go like, oh, we got to do this. We have to do it. And again, like I'm just trying to keep it 100%.
Of course. It's a great point. It's got to be the right, even though I said what I said, it's got to be the right thing for you guys and for, you know,
right match at that moment too.
Right.
I mean, we paid for management and stuff like that. And then again, like just, and it got us great things, but then it's always kind of reached a point where I was going, okay, for what we're spending for this management versus what we're getting at this moment, and what we can do at this moment, because we can't, like, you know, realistically, we can't do a national tour right now. Not unless that dream gig came up where somebody actually offered you a lot of money and say, okay, we're going to put you on the road. And even then, with my wife 8 months pregnant, I'm not sure if I want to be not there for the birth of my child. Of course. You know, so all those pipe dream kind of things have always, they kind of have to kind of go by the wayside unless, you know, you never say never. You never say it's not going to happen. But the likelihood of it goes down. So what we've been focusing on more is what doors can we kick in on our own. If we're not getting a lot of show offers, if we're not having Silent Season reach out to us and be like, yo, do you want to support us in Rhode Island, you know, in a month, then we have to make our own show. We have to get in contact with the venues ourselves and get those offers for ourselves and then say, okay, do you guys want to join us? And maybe that networking will create
the buzz,
something else. Yeah, exactly. And create something else where we can get another opportunity. And if we make friends and we feel like we gel well together, maybe there'll just be stuff we can do together every year, you know, because I've told the bands, you know, personally, like I'm just kind of in this until the wheels come off sort of thing. I feel like we're doing good work and that's got to be number one. And, you know, I think we'll know if it's done, if we're just done, but I don't really see myself doing that. I think at this point, trying to make good music for myself and for the fans we have and to build some more fans. And then hopefully for my kids someday to grow up and go, wow, my dad did some kind of cool stuff. That'll probably be enough for me.
That's awesome, man. That's huge. That's huge. I see huge value in that. Like that's, like I said, the definition and the goals and what you're trying to accomplish, it's different from everyone. And, you know, some bands can do it. Again, they can do it on their own and have success at it. It just,
I think it's different in every era of your life as well. If we were all talking right now and we were all still financially in the same place we're at, but we were 18, you know, unmarried, no kids, no of those big responsibilities and stuff, we'd probably be talking about way different stuff than we're talking about right now. Well, for starters, we'd be on TikTok and we wouldn't be on here, but with me not being able to figure out how to run a microphone. But you know, you just got to go with whatever cards you're dealt. And if you're not getting dealt much cards, I think you just got to try to, you know, deal your own hand. And that's really what we're doing at the moment is like, okay, so these big offers, like we used to have these big opportunities. They just haven't been rolling in as much. So what are we going to do? Let's try to play some different areas each year and see if we can build an audience in those areas. So I'm hoping when we play Taffeta next week that it's jam packed and there's it's so many people and it's going to be amazing. But if it's not, we'll play hard, we'll do our best, we'll network with you guys. Hopefully the venue's happy enough and we have fans that drink enough that the bar's going to be happy. You know, as long as you get enough alcoholics out there that are supporting you that have a ride home and aren't driving.
When they get to the venue, drink when you get to the venue.
Won't drink outside, guys.
No pre-gaming.
Yes.
No pre-game.
Bartender. You know, and there are fans too that I think really do get it as far as that stuff goes too, at least to an extent. I think they do get it, and they always make the effort too. They'll try to get a shirt. They'll say, what do you have for new stuff that I don't have yet? Hey, I've got a friend that doesn't have this CD or whatever, and they'll buy that. And I think that's just so amazing when you have the people that are that way. But for every person like that, there's always a couple that are like, hey, can I get in for free for this one? How much is this thing? $5? Okay. I'll come back later.
Wallet on me. Yeah.
Later. That's actually been a huge thing for us. I think we're going to do more price adjustments next year. This is like getting way into the weeds, like band stuff, but
yeah, I love it.
We've done so many price adjustments, and right now I feel like some of our prices are right where they need to be. Some might be a little bit on the high side. Some might be still a little lower than they need to be. It's always this moving target. When we were starting out, especially once we started doing these big shows, when we didn't have artists that required price matching or anything like that. I mean, our first really big show that we ever did, we had a chance. We opened for Hinder, and we put a table out and we just gave everything away. We had a pile. We had no merch person. We just like had T-shirts, a pile of them, and like give them out. And I remember I was on stage and I looked over. I'm like, for anybody that wants a shirt, and I'm like, look over. I'm like, okay, I guess they're all gone. Like, this is pretty cool. But that moving target of pricing has always been interesting. So we played a show a year or two back with a bigger band, and they had price matching, and I was like, oh my god, we're gonna sell nothing, because the T-shirts, I think their T-shirt prices were like, God, I feel like it was like $30 for a T-shirt, and there was like $50 for a hoodie and all that. I'm like, oh my god. But we ended up doing mad numbers, and I'm like, okay, so maybe part of this is not just what the price is, and if people like you, and especially if they're drinking, they'll probably pay like whatever it is. So I kind of ticked the prices on stuff up a little bit, and that helped a little bit on our profit margin on the products we did have, because we for so long had everything that, like, if we made a T-shirt and it cost us $8, I was selling them for 10, just to get them on people's backs. And then so like those prices have kind of ticked up a little bit over the years, but I haven't found that it's hurt us too much as far as the amount of product that was being moved. Again, pretty far out in the weeds for anybody that's listening that's not doing this.
No. I think it's good to see that view though, and understand like what we have to do as a business, as a band, right? Just to make money, because even like when we were on tour, I don't know if you've seen this, like with well, you mentioned the price matching piece too. Like when we went out with some of the bands, we had a price at a certain rate because we want to be respectful of, since it's their tour. We had to bring our price to a number that made sense for the openers, and then so they would get their sales, right? So it's very common, right? They do a lot of that, but we still found ways to make sure that we were making enough on the other shows. Like if we did one-offs, like with the other bands that were on the bill, and we can put any price out there that we wanted, we found ways to still make it work. Did
you tend to put the prices down more at those smaller shows when it was just you and the other support bands or whatever did the one-offs? Or
so for some of those other shows, we made it affordable. I'll just put it that way. We made pricing affordable, but we felt that at times we did it. I'll be honest, we had to come up a little bit because of the price matching rules that were on the bigger shows when we were opening up for the main national that we were on direct support for. So those nights we didn't necessarily lose money, but we couldn't make our normal income because we would have to slash the prices. So we would raise them a hair for the other shows, but we still made it affordable because we didn't want a kid to come up and say, I don't got $30 for this or whatever, and we sometimes if someone came up to us, like, we would say, hey, you want this, you bought this, we just bundled it with it like a CD. We're like,
we've done a lot of that too. We do a lot of bundling type of stuff, and you could quickly, if you have any idea what your product costs to you can quickly in your head kind of figure out, okay, this thing actually cost me $5, this is around 10, this thing was 15, so as long as I'm making X amount, we'll be okay. And and that's always the hard thing, is weighing the importance of treating people right.
Yes.
Getting your product in their hands so that because they care enough, right, that they want to have it. And if you can truly tell that they're not loaded with cash, flush with cash, that, you
help
make
them out.
deals. Yeah.
You help them out.
But by the same token, I've just become weary of the, hey man, get me in for free. Hey man, give me this. Because once you start doing that a lot, it becomes the expectation. And now your product is worth nothing.
Yeah, that's a good point. You don't want to diminish the product and what you're doing for a business, right? You want to be able to.
There he is.
Yeah, welcome back. Here he is.
You.
But yeah, Brendan, we were just talking about merch sales and what we were doing on tour and the price matching, and we had to be respectful of the pricing of the nationals and whatnot. But we, Travis was just giving some really good insight on how they approach pricing with merch and some of the things that they were doing, and he mentioned the Hinder example. So I think, Travis, it's just all about being creative in that sense, and being one-to-one with the fan and making sure that they can afford the product and help them out when you can. But like you said, making sure that you're not giving everything out, you're maintaining a best practice for your business so that you can generate income.
Yeah, I think for probably next year, I was even saying to the band the other day, we're going to have a couple of products that we drop the price down a little, and a few that we might increase it a little bit. CD sales, I don't even know if you guys sell CDs anymore, but they've decreased quite a bit over the years.
Yeah.
I want to make them affordable enough that people still want to pick them up, but a high enough price that, like, you don't have to sell 500 of them to break even.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of always the trick of it too, is because you can look at something, and if you order X amount of t-shirts or whatever, and it costs you $300, well, how many of those are you going to have to sell at X amount of dollars in order to break even? And usually it's not like a giant number, but it can be relatively significant depending on how often you're playing out and stuff like that. Obviously, when you're on tour, you can afford to take a lot more out with you because you're going to be playing every single night. But when you're just doing your weekend warrior, doing it here and there, it's like, all right, we don't have another show scheduled until September 30th. Okay, we sell 4 shirts at this show and 2 at that show. Maybe by like June 2027, we'll break even on this product. You know what I mean? So that's also, I think, had a little role in how we determined.
Your objectives change based on the volume of what you're doing, right? And how much you're playing out, and even like the online stuff, like you mentioned earlier, shipping and all that stuff. It's so much to take in consideration. And again, you're doing it all yourself. You don't have a team that necessarily help. I mean, you have your band members, but it's always trying to figure out the best path forward to be successful and to run your
literally next Friday we're releasing, it's like a compilation album. It's got new tracks, it's got remixes, it's got a brand new mix of an old song. It's been re-edited, configured, and it's kind of celebration because the band's first album came out in 2014, so it's 10 years. It covers 10 years of music, and we've got pre-sales on that from our Shopify store, and then we also are selling it at Bull Moose. So Bull Moose is gonna have their sales, but we also have our Shopify ones. So tomorrow I'm gonna have to get together with the band and have them sign a number of copies that we can mail out. But again, all that stuff has to be done, coordinated, configured, packaging in order to even, I'm not just talking the packaging of the disc, but the packaging of like putting that in a package to mail it out. Somebody's got to go to the post office, all that kind of stuff. I just I don't know. It's so funny, like, operating at this level, because we're above that level of the people that are just like doing stuff in their basement, that are just like, oh dude, I'll just send this out to you, and it's like on a burn, or they just
burn copy,
and it's like whatever. We're above that, and we do enough numbers where it's like a little bit of a pain in the I shouldn't say that. That's not the right way to put it. It's not a pain because it's amazing.
Yeah.
But like, I think our last album, just on our Shopify store or something like that, pre-sales, when it came out, we had like 26 of them that I had to get everybody to sign and and then mail it out. And it's like that, for just like regular people. Like, that's like a bit of, and then it wasn't just the CDs, it was also shirts. And it's like, okay, this guy's getting like a pack of guitar picks, he's getting bundle, 2 shirts. Yeah. So we're packaging all this stuff in different packages. So you got shit laid out all over the floor, and it doesn't it's not a big number, and it's not a huge amount of stuff. but just for regular people also. Oh, and by the way, we have to practice. So like, let's just dump all this stuff on the floor, run around. Hey, dude, you forgot to sign this one, and then you're stuffing things in packages.
Sounds so familiar. This sounds.
I wouldn't have it any other way. Don't get me wrong, but it's like it is. It's time consuming, I guess, is the way to put it. And you also have to have those numbers add up, where it's like, how much are we charging for shipping, by the way? Because
And we're now recording.
Welcome back to the Season Guys podcast. We have our guest today, Travis from Mammothor. Welcome back, Travis.
Thank you.
So I think we wanted to close out strong here, and I know we mentioned the show a few times, but let's drop some information here and let's let everyone know about this show, because I want people, like we were saying, flying out to the show, traveling from other states.
We got a bunch of people coming out from Germany.
Yes,
it's gonna be great. They're flying out. Gonna be pretty packed, I'm sure. People, from all around. We were going to get an arena, but we ended up doing it at Taffeta. It's next Saturday on the 27th. It's going to be Mammothor and Silent Season, along with the Ghouls and Bike Thrasher. There are two local Lowell bands, and they seem pretty excited to play. I'm hoping they can bring out some fans, and we're going to have a lot of fun no matter what. So I'm just happy that we're going to finally be able to do this together, because I've checked you guys out multiple times over the years. This is the first time I think I actually reached out. And I'm glad we're finally able to make something happen. Hopefully it's only the first time of many.
Yeah, we appreciate you reaching out to us, Travis. We're looking forward to playing with you guys, and we've seen you around as well. And we want to be able to do more. Maybe we're thinking about trying to set up something, maybe at the Middle East and a few other venues. We'd love to have you guys on, and maybe we can get the Red Crown dudes on and just make this massive bill and just kill it and sell it out. Taffeta will be a hope and sell out. And then
how about Gillette? Do you guys have access to this in Gillette? Yeah,
I actually do know someone at Gillette that works for the craft.
Everybody knows somebody from somewhere.
Yeah. No, I do.
I know the janitor. Yeah,
I know.
We'll book Gillette for next year.
Yes.
To the Dome in Las Vegas.
Yes. Exactly.
Oh, the Dome. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Oh, that would be sick.
That'd be crazy.
Would be awesome, man.
I would love that.
Yeah. But you can purchase tickets to the show online. There's a link across all posts from the bands that you can go to, right? A ticket link, and it's a low cost show. I mean, it's going to be a great time. I mean, we want you to come and have a fun time and stay for all the bands and rock with everyone and check out the merch and just support a great show. Let's do this, right?
Absolutely, man. It's going to be awesome.
Brendan, anything you want to add to that?
No, that's pretty much good. I'll put the link in the description below.
A man of few words.
I know. That does a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Just every once in a while, you like chime in and be like, yep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Sometimes I get myself in trouble though over talking, so you might have the right strategy there.
Oh, dude, I'm the same way. Trust me.
Well, that's why I added you to this, Dave.
Yeah. Oh,
I know you'll be the one to talk.
I am in marketing, so that helps. So I guess, right?
Most definitely.
Well, Travis, thank you again for joining us. Really appreciate you taking time out of your day to jump on the podcast. We're hoping, obviously, you can come back for another episode, and looking forward to the show. So excited about that, man. And I know we'll be talking before then, but and let's try to get another show booked with you guys, and we'll help out from our side and keep things rolling, and let's bring the scene back together, like you were saying earlier. Let's do it, man. It's been long overdue, and now is the time.
All in, man. All in. Thank you for having me.
All in, man. I love it. Well, have a great weekend.
All right.
Yeah. What was that, Brendan?
We'll see you in 1 week.
Yeah, we'll see you in a week, man.
All right.
See you in a week. Unless you go to Germany to get that fan.
Well, yeah. I mean, we might have to pick him up on our way over. So if I'm a few minutes late, you guys can just extend the set. Yeah, I want to fly him back. So.
Right on. All right. Well, thank you guys. Have a great one. And this episode will be up Tuesday. So we'll put it out there and tag you guys, and you can share it to your base as well if you choose to.
I think we will.
Awesome. Love
Thanks
it
so much.
Okay. Rock on, guys. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
See you.